we have a few lorem ipsum right here. Okay, then we have a section 2 with a class of to and box. Then we have h1 of second, and we have a little bit of text in there. Then we have box 3, and then we have h1 of third, and we also have a span of special right here, and we just wrap this text inside that span. And finally we just have our strong tag right here, like strong opening tag and strong closing tag. And this is the result of all of that right here. Okay, so in CSS we don't have crazy CSS, but first of all we have our resets. Then we just change the background color of the body to totally black. The text color will be white. We select our boxes, so all of these boxes. So we have box in here, this one is a box, this one is a box, and so on and so forth. We provide a max width of 600 pixel, margin will be 20 pixel, padding will be 20 pixel, border will be will be 1 pixel all around. Then we have a special class, which is this special class right here, like these spans, and we just provide a color of teal and font size, like font style of italic. And then finally we just select word strong, which is that strong right here, and we just give them a little bit of color of kind of a orangish or brownish or whatever you want, kind of a brownish color right here. So this is it about our HTML, and this is it about our CSS. So what do we have to do in our JavaScript? Check the inner text of the first element. So what is the first element? Let's just see. If you just hit, okay, so we have this first element right here. So if you want to check the text of that first element, so for that we just have to create our variable const first, and it will be now equals to document.query selector of period and first. Okay, so now we get that. Let's just log that to the console, save it, and here you can see we are now getting this h1, and we have a little bit of lorem ipsum inside there. So if you want to get a text of that first, so for that we can just write like dot inner text, so inner text, and now if you save that, and it will now use the inner text of all of that h1 right here. Okay, so that's it about our first step. So what do we have to do in a second step? So check the text content of the second element. So first of all we have to see, do we have word second? Yeah, we do have that second right here. Let's just select that. I'm going to just write const second, and it will be now equals to document.query selector of second. Okay, so now if you want to check the text content, so I'm going to just write second dot text content, but we have to wrap that in our console.log so that we can see it. I'm going to comment this line out, and I'm going to save my file, and now here you can see it will now use the content but without formatting whatsoever right here. Okay, comment this line out. The third thing which you have to do, and the final thing which you have to do for this exercise, is check the inner HTML of the third element. So let's just see what do we have inside this third element. So inside this third element we have our span with the class of, with the class of special, and then we have a strong opening tag and strong closing tag. So it will show up all of these spans and all of these gibberish. So let's just select that. First of all, const third, and it will be now equals to document.query selector of third. Okay, so we just have to write const.log third dot inner HTML in this case. So now if you save that, and now here let me just separate that, and now here you can see we are now getting span with the class of special and the text of, I can't pronounce and we also have this strong opening tag and strong closing tag. If I change that to like I don't know, inner text right here, so if I just change that to inner text, so it will not include all of that, but it will give us it there in a formatted fashion. If we change that to inner, not inner but text content, and if we save that, it will give us that like so without any code word search. So if you just write like inner HTML, save it, it will give us that inner coding inside that text. So that was it about inner HTML text content and inner text right here property. So now that we learned that what is a DOM, how to access elements from a DOM, and how to see the text content inner HTML and the text inside that element. Now the next thing which you have to do is that we have to learn about a classless property and how we can add classes to our elements and how we can remove classes from our elements and how we can do toggling of our classes. So we just have app.js file and we have our index.html file. Right click on it and open it with a live server. So it will now open this file in a live server. I'm going to open my dev tools, set that to the right like so. I'm gonna just hide my metadata from there, and inside this body area we just have our h1 with the class of styles, and we just provide our hello world inside there. And now if I expand there, and here you can see inside this styling we have our styles class right here, and we just provide a color of crimson. Font weight will be totally normal. Font size, not font size, but font family will be sans serif, and text decoration will be line through. Okay, and we are now getting all of these styles right here. Okay, so now let's get into our class list property first of all. So now let's just select our h1, and then we can interact with that. So first of all, let's just write our const and then our class. Now getting all of these will be sans serif, and text decoration will be line through. Okay, and we are now getting all the family with color of style word inside there. And now if I expand class right here, and we just want a family will be sent right here. Okay, so now h1, and then we can interact with that. So first of all, let's just write our const of h1. You can store it in let and const as let and var as well. And now let's just select our h1 right here. So now let's just write like const.log of h1.class list. And now if you save that, it will now give us the list of all of the classes which we provide to this specific element right here. So we have just one class right here, so that's why we are getting the length of one right here. But if you have multiple classes, like I don't know, if I just remove the styles, if I change that to 1 2 3 4 5, and if you have a lot of classes, and now if we save that, it will now give us all of their classes right here, all of the list of that classes right here. Okay, so I'm going to just undo that to styles, save there, and this is how it looks like right here. So this class list property will allows us to check all of the classes which this specific element has. So we just have our selector, and then we can just use this class list property on there. Okay, that was it about for classes. Now the next thing which we have to do is that we have to learn about how we can add classes to specific elements. So how can we go about doing that? Let's suppose if I just remove this classes class from here. So if you save that, and now here you can see we don't have any classes, any styling in whatsoever on this hello world, and we don't have any values inside our console right here. So we don't provide any classes, anything inside this h1, but we do have that class of styles right here. But now if you want to attach this class to this h1 by using JavaScript and interacting with the DOM, so for that we can just use that h1 h1. First of all, we will just select our h1, and then we are going to be selecting our class list property, which allows us to give us the list of that property, and then we can use a useful method called add. So as the name suggests, that it will just add class to our element. Now we have to give the name of that class inside double quotes, so I'm going to just write styles right here. And now if you save that, and here you can see it will now apply that class to it right here. So here you can see we are now getting these styles. We don't have that class right here on this element, but if you just right click on it, click on inspect, here you can see it did provide that styles class to it right here. Okay, let's just go back to the console, and now let's just see. I'm gonna copy this line out, paste it right here. I'm uncomment it and save it, and now here you can see we are now getting the style class right here, and the value will be also styles, and the length is set to 1. Okay, so this is how we can set classes to our elements. Now the next thing which you have to do is that how we can remove classes from our elements. So now in this case we attach this class right here. So now if you want to remove this class from this h1, so what do we have to do? I'm going to duplicate this line of code, and now instead of add, I'm going to just write remove right here. So remove, and then let me just write remove real quick. So remove, and then the class name. So now if you save that, and here you can see that styling is gone. And if you just right click on it and click on this inspect, so here you can see it also gone from here. So we do have that class keyword right here, but we don't have any value for that. So that's why we are not getting that. Let's suppose I'm going to comment this line out and save our file. So you already know that we don't have any classes on our h1. Right here, but if I just add, I'm going to also comment this line out as well, our file. So we don't have any classes whatsoever on our h1. So let's just write our class right here of styles right here. So if you save that, okay, so I messed it up something. Copy it, copy, paste it, and now we are getting the styles. All right, so now if you want to remove that style from this h1, so we just have to uncomment this line of code. So we have first of all the selector, like the tag name, then we have a class list, and now we are removing this specific class from this h1 element. So now if you save that, and it will now just remove that class from it. So if you save that, it will not remove that apple because we don't have any apple class on this h1. We don't have any apple class in this class list, so that's why we cannot remove that. So let's just provide styles back, and we'll now just remove that. And now finally, let's just learn about my favorite property, or method to be precise, which is known as a toggle. So as the name suggests, that it will just toggle the classes. If we have class, so it will just remove it. If you don't have a class, so it will just add that specific class to it. So I'm going to just show you that just in a second. I'm going to write h1, then classless, and then toggle. Okay, so inside this toggle, I'm going to give him a class of, like, I don't know, apple, and we don't have any apple classes anywhere. So if you save that, and let's just see, okay, so let's just remove that class from here, and we don't have any apple class anywhere. I'm going to right click on it and go to inspect area, and now here you can see it did provide that apple class. Okay, so let's just remove, save that of, like, I don't know, app, then toggle. So I'm going to just show you that just in a second. I'm going to write h1, then classless, and then toggle. Okay, so inside this toggle, I'm going to give him a class of, like, I don't know, apple, and we don't have any apple classes anywhere. So if you save that, and let's just see, okay, so let's just remove that class from here, and we don't have any apple class anywhere. I'm going to right click on it and go to inspect area, and now here you can see it did provide that apple class right here. That's because we are using this toggle class right here. What if I just provide a styles to it? So if I just write styles, so it will now just add that style class right here. I removed that class from here, but we do provide it right here. And what if I just provide it right here? Let's just write class of styles and save that. It will just remove it. So it will just go the other way around. So if we have class, it will remove it. If you don't have that specific class, so it will add it. This is how the toggling works. So how can I put that in other words? Let's suppose if you have a class of um you know what, that's fine. You just have to play around with that by yourself. So let me just say that one more time so you guys can just understand it a bit better. If we have the style class on this h1, so it will remove it. It will just remove it. But if you don't have access to that style class on this h1, so it will just add it right here. So this is what a toggle do for us. So I'm going to just comment this. We're not going to be commenting anything. So we are totally done with this section as well. Now what else do we have to do? The next topic which you are going to be learning about is something called getting and setting attributes. So this is what we are going to be learning. I'm going to click on this live coding, go to the app.js file and index.html file as well. I'm going to comment or collapse this head area, and now inside this body area we have just one anchor tag which will just go to the Facebook homepage, and then we have our one input area right here with the type of text. So this is what we have so far. Alright, so that's it for index.html file. I'm gonna right click on it and open it with live server, and this is how it looks like. I'm gonna also open my developer tools as well. So we are going to be learning about href attribute, value attribute, type, and also get element, like get attribute, and then the attribute name, and then set attribute, the attribute name and its value. Okay, so we have this href right here. So first of all, what do we have to do? We want to select that anchor tag and we want to get that href attribute from there. So first of all, we are going to be writing const and then a, and let's just store that in the anchor tag, and now let's just get our a right here. Okay, so if you just log that a to the console, you already know what we will get, so we will just get this anchor tag. tag right here. So if you want to get an attribute from this anchor tag, so for that we can use dot href. So if we save our file, it will now give us the value of that href right here. But if you don't have the value file, it will now give us the value of that href right ref. So if we save our file, it will now give us the value href. So if we save our file, it will now give us the value of that href right here. But if you don't have the value of that href, so let me just cut that from here, save it, it will not give us nothing right here because we don't have access to that href, so it will not give us nothing. I'm gonna pass it one more time, so we do have this href value. Of just a facebook.com, so that's why we are getting this href right here, href value right here. All right, so that is the first thing. You know what, we can also change that to something else, like maybe I don't know, www.youtube.com and /Hossein web dev my YouTube link. Okay, so let's just zoom out a bit, and this is how it looks like. I'm gonna save that. So here you can see it will now change that to youtube.com. Okay, so this is how we can provide a new values to it, and this is how we can get elements or get values of our elements. So that's the first attribute. Now let me just duplicate that, and you know what, I'm gonna also get my input tags as well. So this input I'm talking about, I'm going to write const input, and will now set to document.query selector of just a simple input right here. Okay, so that's the first attribute. Now the next attribute which you're going to be learning is that let's just log that to the console. First of all, input.value. So if we save that, and we will see nothing. That's because we don't have no values, nothing inside this input area right here, so we will get nothing. But if you do have a value, let's just provide a value to it. So let's just write a value of I don't know, hello. And now if you save that, and we are not getting this hello right here, and that's the value which we provide right here. Okay, so that's how we can get a value from an input. So that's the second attribute we get. Now the next attribute which we are going to be getting is a type attribute. So I'm going to remove that value and set that to the type. And now if you save that, and type is set to text, and we set the type to text right here, so that's why we are getting this text type right here. So if you just change that to, like, I don't know, email, save it, it will now give us email. If you just write a password, it will now set it to password. It will, if you just write something else like something else, and now if you save that, and it will give us a text because this something else is invalid. Okay, and by default it will just set that to text. And now if you save that, and everything is working the way we expect him to work. So that's it about how we can get a different kind of attributes from different kind of elements. So now let's just learn about how we can set values to the different kind of elements. So now we have our anchor tag, and now we can just change this href to something else, like I don't know, maybe my own YouTube name, like www, or you know what, https and then colon youtube.com/@Hussein okay. And now if you save that, and now we have a Facebook, so if you click on that, okay. And now if you save that, com/@Hussein okay. And now if you save that, and now we have a Facebook, so if you click on that, and it will now brings us to my YouTube channel right here. Let's just wait for it to render. Alright, so here you can see that gorgeous guy right here. I'm gonna close that one. This is how we can get the values or getting the attributes. So getting attributes, and this is about setting attributes, like setting attributes like so. Alright, so now if you want to set the value of something else, like maybe let's just write console.log of input.value, and if you want to change that to something else like hello, and now if you save that, and we're not, oh, we already have a hello. If you want to just say that to like buy, save it, and we are now getting buy in here and also in here. So let's just log the type to the console real quick. So input.type is already set to text, but if you want to change that to password, and now if you save that, it will now change it to password in here, and here you can see this will also be affected right here. Okay, so this is how we can set an attribute. And now let's just learn about a placeholder. So we can also just provide a placeholder to our forms and inputs. So please provide a strong password would be fine. Okay, so let's just zoom out. Provide a strong password would be fine. Okay, so let's just zoom out. Let's just zoom out a bit. and now if you save that, but we have to comment this line out, and now if you save that, and let's just remove this value from there, save it. Oh my god, we already set a value in here, so comment this line out, and now you're getting like, please provide a strong password. That's because of this placeholder attribute. So this is how we can get attribute, and this is how we can set new attribute. So I'm going to comment both of these line out as well. Alright, so now the next thing which you have to do is that we are going to be learning about a method called get attribute and then the attribute name. So let me just write that in here. Oh my god. Let's just write get attribute and then the attr name, like a attribute name in here. So I'm going to just write console.log in here, and then let me just select my input, and we can just write get attribute method right here. And now let's suppose if you want to get a type, so we will just provide a type, save it, and we will get like text right here. So let's suppose if you want to get like, I don't know, let's just provide a placeholder to it as well. So placeholder will be email. So placeholder is now set to email. Here you can see that. And now if you want to get an email, so we can just write email, save it. Okay, instead of writing email, we can just write placeholder like so. And now if you save that, and we are now getting email right here. Okay, so this property, or this method to be precise, will allows us to get attribute from a specific kind of elements. Okay, so we can also set attribute to elements. So that was it about for getting attribute. So now let's just learn about a set attribute. So set attribute, A-T-R-I-B-U-T-E. Did I spell it correctly? So set, yeah, let's just copy that, and I'm gonna paste it right here. and then the attribute name, like the attribute name, and we can also provide different kind of values to it. So let's just write console.log. Let's just write console.log of input. First of all, we have to get our input, and now let's just use set attribute method on it, and here we want to get like place holder, place holder right here, and now you want to provide a value of like I don't know, password maybe. So we can just provide a new value of password. It is currently email, so we can also change that to password. So if we save that, and here you can see it will now change it to password, and we don't have to provide that in console. So let's just remove this console from there, and this is how we can set a new value. So now let's just change that to, like, I don't know, type to be password as well. So I'm gonna also change the type to be password. So if you save that, and the type will be also set to password. So this is how we can get attribute, and this is how we can set attribute, and these are the methods we have for getting attribute and setting attributes. Alright, that was a lot of talking. Now let's just get into our exercise, and now let's just tackle this exercise, and I will highly encourage you to do that by yourself, but if you can't do it, I'm already always right here. Collapse this head area right here, so we have our anchor tag with the href of Twitter, and then we have our input area with the type of text. Then we have an anchor tag with the class of a2 and no hrefs on this anchor tag. Alright, so what do we have to do? First of all, let's just get into it. Select the anchor tag. Let's just select that by using, what was that? Anchor tag, yeah. I'm gonna write const anchor tag will be now equals to document.query selector of anchor tags. So the first step is finish, boss. What else do we have to do? Use a get attribute name to check the attribute. Alright, so now let's just do that real quick. So console.log of a.get attribute, and let's just provide attribute name of, like, which kind of attribute should we check? Okay, so we have an attribute of href. So now let's just put our href inside there, and if we save that, it will now give of href. So now let's just put our href inside there, and if we save that, it will now give us Twitter right here. So now let's just put our href inside there, and if we save that, it will now give us Twitter right here. So that's correct. Now what else do you have to do? Select the A2 and set href attribute to it. That's kind of awesome. So we can just write, like, I don't know, let's just select this A2. Where is that? Alright, so we have this A2 right here. Let me just write const A2, and it will now equals document.query selector of A-2. Okay, so what do we have to do? Set href attribute to it. So A2 dot set attributes of, like, I don't know, href would be fine, and we can just give our own YouTube channel links. So https://youtube.com/@Hussain my channel link, and let's just log that h2 to the not h2 but a2 to the console. So if you save that, and we are now getting this a2. Okay, so it's a Udemy. It's a Udemy. I'm gonna change that to YouTube. Save it, and now if you click on that, it will now brings us to our YouTube channel right here. Okay. Alright, so we are totally done with this exercises as well, but for a bonus, yeah, you know what, I'm not gonna give you any bonus. You're not worthy of it. I'm just kidding, we don't have any bonuses. Alright, so now we are totally done with the getting and setting attributes. So now the next topic which you are going to be learning about is something called siblings. I'm gonna open my index.html file and app.js file, right click on it and open it with the live server, hide the metadata from there, and let's just see. Okay, siblings, fine. So we have a UL. Inside this UL we have not three but four allies, but we have a fourth one with a class of fourth. For this fourth one we have a class of fourth, and the other one don't have any classes and any IDs whatsoever. So this is what we have inside our body. Alright, so now let's get into our app.js file, and now let's just learn about a sibling. So first of all, let's just get our first li. So I'm going to just write let first li, and it will now equals to document.query selector of our li. So we already know that it will just give us the first li, and now if you just log that to the console like first li, and now if you save that and open it with a console and say bye to that one, so here you can see we are now getting our first li right here. Okay, so now if you want to get the parent of this li, so like what will be the parent of this li? The parent of this li will be this ul. So what will be the parent of this ul? The parent of this ul will be this body. So what will be the parent of this body? The parent of this body will be our document, and then finally it will give us nil. So let's just see what will be the parent of this first li. So I'm going to just write parent elements, so it will give us the first parent of that element. So if we save that, so here you can see we are now getting a ul right here. So the parent of this li is this ul, so that's why we are getting this ul right here. What if you just duplicate this line of code and we just use that same method, like same property as well, like parent element one more time. I'm gonna zoom out a bit, and now if you save that, it will now use a body right here, because the parent of the ul is now body. If you just wrap that in a section, let's just write a section, cut that from there, and I'm gonna paste it right here, so it will now use this section right here, because the parent of this ul is now this section, so it will now use this section. If you have article, navigation, aside, header, if you have all of that, so it will just go on and on and on and on, and you can check that again and again and again, like so. I'm gonna just remove these sections from there, and we already know that we have the parent of body. But if you want to check the parent of this body, I'm gonna just duplicate this line of code, and I'm gonna just change that to parent one more time, parent element, and now we are getting this HTML right here, like a root HTML. So we have first of all ul, then we have a ul, and then we have a body, and then we have our HTML document. But finally, let's just check and let's just use that parent element one more time, like parent element one more time. I'm gonna just zoom out a bit. So if you save that, and it will now give us nil because we don't have any parents for this HTML, so it will now give us nil. Okay, so this is how we can get a parent for each of the elements. So this is the, so we can also just go from this one, so the parent of this one will be UL, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. So this is how we can get a parents from our elements. So I'm going to just comment this line out, and let's just learn about children. So how can we get a children? So let's just write first of all that UL and document dot query selector, and we are now selecting this UL right here. Okay, zoom in a bit. We are now selecting this UL, and now if you want to access the children, so for that we have our children property. So I'm going to just write console.log of ul.children. So if you just write children, and now if you save that, it will now give us the collection of all of these LIs right here. And now if you save that, it will now give us the collection of all of these LIs right here. Okay, so we can also access each children if you want to, like we can just specify the index of 0. It will now give us the first one. Once if you save that, and now here you can see it will now give us the first one. We can also get like the second one, the third one, the fourth one if you want to. If you save that, it will now give us all of that. But if you try to access the fourth one in this case, so it will now give us undefined because we just have LIs from 1 through 4. We don't have more than that, so that's why we are getting this undefined right here. I'm going to remove that. Alright, so now we can also change the inner text to be like something else maybe, or we can also get the inner text if you want to. So let's just write console.log of maybe UL, and then children, come on, children, oh my god, children, there we go. And now let's just select the first one. I'm gonna comment the other one, and now let's just get like inner text, inner txt, like so. And now if you save that, so the inner text is set to 1, so we are now getting 1. So if you just change that to something else like to 1 in, and now let's just get like inner text, inner txt, like so. And now if you save that, so the inner text is set to 1, so we are now getting 1. So if you just change that to something else like I don't know, one as a letter. Yeah, so if you save that, so it will now change it to 1, like so. We already learned about text and stuff like that. I'm gonna comment this line out. So this is it about how we can get a parent, and this is it about how we can get a children. So now let's just learn about get a parent, and this is it about how we can get a children. So this is it about how we can get about text and stuff like that. Save that, so it will now change it to 1, like so. So we already learned about text and stuff like that. I'm gonna comment this line out. So this is it about how we can get a parent, and this is it about how we can get a children. So now let's just learn about a siblings as well. So we have a first line. I'm gonna comment, or I'm gonna copy this line of code, comment this line out, and I'm gonna also comment this line out as well. So now let's just learn about a sibling. So we have our first line one more time, and now let's just write console.log of first line dot what next element sibling. So it will now use the next element sibling. And now if we save that, let's just write text content so that we get to see our content. So we are now getting the second one right here. So this one is the first element. And if we just use that next element sibling property on there, so it will now use the second property. So I'm gonna hit enter right here, zoom out a bit, and duplicate that. And now let's just use this next element sibling one more time and just write a dot in there, save it, and it will now use us 3, and the list will go on and on and on. I wanted to show you everything, but you don't have to go like that much crazy. Okay, so save it. It will now give us 4, but if you try to access this one more time, like so, let me just write it one more time, period. Save it. It will now give us uncaught type error, cannot read a property of nil, because this is a nil, so it will not use nil. Okay, so this is how we can get all of the siblings. So I'm going to remove that final one because this one is a little bit cluttered. So we already learned about how we can get a parent, how we can get a children, and how we can get a next element sibling. So I'm going to comment both of these line out. Okay, and now let's just finally select our fourth li, which is this one, and let's just learn about a previous elements sibling real quick. Let me just write let fourth li, and it will be now equals to document.query selector of this fourth li, and I'm gonna be just, let's just log that to console like fourth li. And now if you save that, and you already know that it's that fourth one, if you just write text content of save there, it will now give us 4. Okay, so if you want to just get a previous element sibling, so we can just write previous, let me just write that previous element sibling. So if you just write then save it, and it will now give us the third one. We can duplicate this line of code and we can reuse that property, copy there, paste it right here, save it. It will now give us the second one right here. We can still reuse that one more time. Like, this list can go on and on if you have a lot of elements, and I'm going to use it one more time and save it. It will now give us the first one. But if we try to access this the final time, so save it and nil, it will now give us a nil. Okay, so I know these are a lot of talking and a lot of typing and stuff, but you just have to remember that if you want to get a parent of some sort of an element, so for that you just have to use a parent element property, and this list can go on and on. Like, you can go as much deep as you want, but I just kind of want to give you these examples. Now if you want to get a children, so for that you have a children property. If you want to get a next element sibling, so for that you have a next element sibling. If you want to get a previous element, so for that you have a previous element sibling property. So that was it for these siblings. Now the next thing which you have to do is that we have to learn about styling. Like, how can we apply styling using JavaScript and not CSS. We already learned how we can toggle classes and stuff, but in this section we are going to be learning about how we can provide a styling through a specific element. I'm going to zoom in a bit first of all, and then we just have, you know what, let me just launch that and you'll get to see what it is. So we have a color of teal. Let's just open our dev tools real quick. So that's because we are providing this teal class right here. So I'm going to just remove that from here, and we have this hello world, and it's taking the color of the styling right here. So we just selected that, and we provide a color of crimson right here. Okay, but if you want to provide a styling using our JavaScript and interacting with a DOM, so for that we can use just a styles property. Let me just get my h1 real quick. So I'm gonna write document.query selector. Oh my god, what is the, zoom in a bit, and let's just select our h1, log that to the console real quick, and now here you can see, and let's just select our h1, log. log that to the console real quick, and now here you can, and let's just select our h1, log that to the console real quick, and now here you can see we are now getting that h1. Now let's just type dot, and now let's just select our style. So if you save that, and here you can see it will now use uses a CSS style declaration property. So if you just click on that, and we have crazy amount of styling right here. We have S and color, we have a line count, a line item, A for animation, animation delay, direction, duration, film mode, iteration count, name, and all of different kinds of properties, and it's very mode, line item, style declaration. So if you save that, now let's just type dot, and now let's just select our style. So if you save that, and here you can see it will now use as a CSS style declaration property. So if you just click on that, and we have crazy amount of styling right here. We have S and color, we have a line count, a line items, A for animation, animation delay, direction, duration, film mode, iteration count, name, and all of different kinds of properties, and its values set to empty because we don't provide any values to it. So let me just split there so that you guys can see everything. So we have a border, we have a background properties, we have like width and height, a clear clip path property, columns, the display property. So we have all of these CSS properties inside that style property which we wrote right here. This one is very powerful, but my suggestion will be to do not use that. Instead use classes and then toggle classes, but don't use that because it provides something called an inline style. So let's suppose the color is now changed to, let me just see, the color is changed to, come on, oh my god, the color is changed to crimson right here. But now if you want to change the color to be something else, like maybe teal, so we can also provide that. So I'm going to just write like, you know, I'm going to remove this console log from here and write a dot. And now let's suppose if you want to provide a color property, so I'm going to just write color and change that to teal. And now if we save that, and it will now change the color to teal. So why is that? I'm going to just click on this mouse and I'm going to select that, and now here you can see it will now provide inline style to it. So we are now selecting and we are providing this inline style of color teal. If you want to provide a background color, so you can just write a background, and by the way, you're not allowed to write a CSS kind of style like background dash color. It will just think it's JavaScript, remember, it will just think like we have a background variable, then we have a color variable, and we are just removing something from this color, like we are just subtracting something from a color and we are just adding that to a background. So we'll just think about that. I'm going to remove this dash and I'm going to just write a camel case right here. So background color as a camel case. You can also go with no, you cannot go with a snake case because this is a JavaScript and we are working on a style. So you have to write that camel case. So the background color will be now in this case set to crimson. So if you save that, the background color will be now set to crimson and the text color will be now set to teal. We can also change that to 1.
ओके 9 बज गए, 9 बजे नहीं 9 बज गए, पे आज रुकते हैं और 6 आवर्स बचे हैं, लेकिन प्रोजेक्ट भी तो है। चलो देखा जाएगा, फ्री मिलते हैं आप भाई। अब क्या एन का भी पढ़ना है और स्किल का भी अच्छे भी करेंगे, बहुत कुछ पढ़ना बाकी है। ये एनएल के बारे में भी मैं कुछ बताना तो चाहता हूँ, अगली बार बताया। तब तक के लिए फिर मिलते हैं।